Okay, can you hear me? Okay, great. We'll get rid of this first. Alright. Okay, thank you. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. Alright. What we'll do before we begin, just we'll set a few ground rules, for everybody. So, phones on silent, please, for everybody who's got their phones here. Let's concentrate here. I'll put my phone on silent as well. So all phones on silent, and I'll go away with my phone as well. Yeah. And while you're sitting afar, but no side conversations. If you have a joke to crack, let's all crack it together. So let's do that. And lastly, and the most important part of it, as somebody said, entertainment. Here you need to participate, right? The more you participate, the more interactive the session is going to be. And it's completely an interactive session, that's what I've tried to put here. And let's see, you've already given an introduction, so I'll just lean over it, right? I'm sure you recognize all of these companies. Anybody who doesn't recognize the company here? Yeah? Can you tell me which are the companies there? Yeah? Airtel? Idea? Vodafone, yeah? Sorry, a little louder. Yeah, right, that's right, yeah. And the one in the center, the one in the green is a company called Etisalat. Yeah, these are all telcos. Yeah, so I've been in telecom now for close to about 19 years. And I got recruited from campus for Bharti. So pretty much I was in your shoes at one point in time, right? But that was many moons ago. Okay. So this is the topic for today, right? We are going to look at scouting companies to buy out in the digital service ecosystem, correct? Yeah? Yes, sir. Is that the topic for today? No, sir. Okay. So what's the topic for today? Huh? Oh yes, campus to corporate. Yeah, that's the topic. I just want to see how many of you have figured out what the topic for the day is, right? Yeah. Campus to corporate, that's the topic that we are going to be sort of discussing. But the way I've structured the talk is that I'm trying to look at it saying, what is going to be different in your world from what you do today to once you become a corporate citizen? What do corporates expect out of you? Okay, and what is it that you will require to succeed in your corporate lives, right? And we'll also try and take some question and answers at the end of the session. If you feel that you need to ask some questions anywhere, please feel free to stop me and ask. Okay? Great. So, how is your world going to be different? Yeah? You are in your comfortable cocoon world here, and you are going to move to a brand new world. How is your life going to change? What's going to be different? Yeah? Can I have some answers? What do you guys think your life is going to change? How is it going to change? क्या different हो जाएगा? Okay. Can I get a mic around somewhere if there's a possibility? Yeah. Thank you. So you said attitude, behavior. Okay. What else? Personality. All right. Okay. What else? Lifestyle. All right. Time management. All right. Okay. What else?
Economic independence.
Economic independence. Very nice. Okay. What else? Yeah, louder.
Responsibilities.
Responsibilities. Okay. Any?
External environment.
I'm sorry?
Environment.
External environment. Okay, that's interesting. External environment. Okay. What else? What else is going to change? Okay. There you go. So what I've done is I've tried to encapsulate some of this into what is going to change, right? And let's have a look at that. Yeah. First of all, your support system is going to change, right? All of you are in a comfort zone right now. Okay, you've got fantastic faculty, you've got a nice college here, everything is cushy, very nice, plush seats to sit on, very nice, right? But all of us are in that V or in our comfort zone, which is not going to be the case once you get outside, right? You have to fend for yourself. I understand that all of you are staying in hostels here, 100%, right? But still there is food being made available to you, beds are being made, all of that is going to happen, right? But 99% chance is that you are going to be now moving into an area where you have to look at your own housing and fend for yourself and do all of that. And what I say, from medicine to maid, everything is your responsibility, right? So you need to pick up a place, वो maid आई, उसने झाड़ू लगाई, bed लगा नहीं लगा, you have to clean your place, wash your stuff, all of that. So net, unless you're very lucky and you happen to get a job in a place where your parents or your relatives stay, you will be outside. So you need to manage, somebody said external environment, maybe I'll put that in, saying your support system is not going to be there, right? So that is something that is going to be very, very different. You fall sick, what happens, right? You need to fend for yourself. Not to say that you'll not be able to build, and we'll talk about it, how do you go about and build a support system for yourself once you're in a corporate life. Yeah? Somebody said freedom. Did somebody say freedom? No, somebody said economic independence. Yeah, we'll talk about that as well. Yeah? But freedom from supervision, right? So when you think freedom from supervision, क्या दिमाग में आता है? क्या किस चीज़ों से freedom मिलेगी आपको? रोक टोक से freedom मिलेगी. Yeah, very nice. Okay, what else?
Spending.
Huh?
Spending.
Spendings. Okay. Spending. Timings. Okay. Or rope talk, same thing. Yeah. What else?
Making choice. Economy choice.
Economic choice. Should I club it along with spending? Is it similar to spending? Yeah. So okay, let's say economic choice. All right. What else? Decision making. Yes, absolutely. I think rope talk somewhere there, but yeah, I'll also say some amount of independence to make your own decisions. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So clearly, once you get there, you are on your own. You are also, with this freedom comes a lot of responsibility, right? I think one cliche is that you go back and say, we become freedom, but we haven't got the responsibility to be able to carry out our freedom, right? And I'm talking about our independence as a nation, right? You see, we go around vandalizing public property and so on and so forth, but it's all ours. So, janam se adhikar hai todna, right? That's not the case, right? So you need to get, with freedom comes a little bit of responsibility. Yeah, we said financial freedom, earn and spend as you wish. Yeah, but also important thing is save, right? And we rarely talk about this early on in our careers or earlier on, but extremely important. When you are young, start saving. But saving for another day, let's look at, since we always said spending, क्या खरीदना चाहेंगे आप? What is it that you're going to spend on?
Traveling.
Huh? Traveling. Okay, and a very interesting thing I'll tell you. Okay, once you put this, you said traveling. We are going to be spending on. Okay, let's say traveling. What else? Yeah?
Gaming.
Gaming. Housing. said gaming? Please meet me after this. I'm doing a startup with games. Okay, all right. Housing, all right. Okay. Food. All right, food. What else?
Sir, almost everything we are spending on now, but only from our own income rather than our parents' income.
So that's not a very good thing to do, isn't it? Yeah, but I'm saying, yeah, provided that you have freedom to spend, what is it that you would want to spend on, right?
Vehicle?
Cars.
Cars.
Laptop.
Okay. Okay. What else?
Clothing.
Clothing. Okay, all right. See, interesting thing, right? Now, the first things that came up now are all experiential things. Did you notice that? Yeah, we said traveling. Okay, I want to go and look at new places, experience new places. Gaming is also an experience, right? I'm also missing my game, but anyways. Food, also experience. And then we've got, after a lot of clothing, we've got housing and cars and clothing and the rest of it. But see, what's happening is, that's a very big paradigm shift in today's generation. I'm not counting myself in that, okay? So, today's generation, and maybe my generation, and maybe a generation before that, right? Earlier, we were really bothered about saying, if somebody were to ask, if you want to spend, what is it that you will do? They will look at material things, right? I would want a home theater system, television, or I want something else, right? But today, the paradigm shift is that people want to experience stuff, right? And a whole lot of this is what you guys have come up with, saying, I would like to travel, I like gaming, I like food. You know, a lot of this is happening for the simple reason that we're saying, okay, this generation has now seen a lot of material things. It's okay, we have already, you know, I've got a phone which doubles up as a camera and also as a music player and you know, God knows what, my alarm clock, everything. So once if I have a few of those gadgets, my life is sorted, right? So I don't really have to bother about these utilities. I need to now look at more experiential stuff. So that's the big change that is happening, and that is where, even if you look at it, even the economy is moving towards this, right? A whole lot of stuff, industries are coming on an experience, right? Social media, yeah? It is not something tangible. It is an experience that you get, and that experience is a sense of fulfillment, right? There's a chemical called dopamine that gets released, right? Whenever somebody likes you, or likes you in the sense, likes your posts, etc., etc. And that is the reason why you continuously keep going back to it, saying how many people have liked it, my Instagram post, and so on and so forth, right? It's all got to do with that. It's all got to do with experience. Great. Then, environment. Something said external environment, there's something to that effect, right? So, yeah. From a friendly to a very, very formal sort of environment. When I'm saying environment here, also, you know, in campus you can maybe walk around the way you want to walk around, but in corporate you need to behave in a certain fashion, right? And we'll talk about that going further as well. Dress code. Yeah, I can see that all of you guys are in your uniforms, etc. But yeah, dress code. And I'm not saying that it's going to be formals, because dress code is dependent from organization to organization, right? So there are organizations who have uniforms, somebody like a JCB or a Sonalika or a Tanishq. Then there are organizations who would have the business forms, right? A TCS, or you know, somebody who's into software selling or something like that, where you need to meet a client, so you need to obviously be in your formals, right? And then there are MNCs, etc., who are saying, well, it's business casuals. You can wear what you want. And then there are startups, you know, you can do what you want, right? But there is a thin line of saying you can't wear rounded t-shirts, right? You can't wear sneakers, you can't wear shorts, you can't wear cargos. Yeah? But even though they are casual wear, but they are strict no-no. So even in a casual wear, there will be certain ground rules. So dress code becomes a little bit of a difference, right? And also what happens is, the way you dress is also what impacts the way you think, right? If you're formally dressed, vis-a-vis, and so it impacts the way you think, it also impacts the way somebody else thinks, right? Now you imagine if I had come here in a t-shirt and shorts and floaters, you'd have said, "Ye dress lecture hai." No, isn't it? That's what we would have thought, isn't it? Right? So it's also an impression that the other people make of you, right? So it's extremely important of how you are going to dress up, right? And it's called, in some cases, it's also called power dressing, right? If you look at, let's say, the U.S. Presidents, right? They would be either in a black tie, in a red tie, or in a blue tie, right? And of late, everybody started to wear a small little flag here, right? What is it denoting? I am patriotic. Everybody is becoming nationalist, right? You look at governments across the world. All the governments that are coming in are nationalist governments, right? They want to put their country first. Nothing wrong or right about it, yeah? But I'm really saying. Okay, great. So power dressing. Communication. Extremely important, right? Communication is at two fronts. One is obviously verbal of what I'm saying, and the other is non-verbal, right? The moment I go back and say, okay, that's all right. So what am I telling you? Enough. I don't want to discuss, right? But if I go back and tell you, okay, let's discuss. There's a very big change in both these postures, right? But I say, okay, come on, let's discuss. But am I really communicating that I'm discussing? Or I'm open for a discussion? I'm not, right? So communication clearly is also not only verbal. 65% of communication happens non-verbally, right? The way you are standing, the way you are talking, your hand gestures, etc., right? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Now this part is extremely important, and if you really look at some of this piece over here, attitude, behavior, personality, all of this, I would sort of club them together into something called soft skills, right? In your current dispensation, it's good to have. If you have them, fantastic, right? But for success in corporate life, soft skills are the most important skill to have. Yeah? And we'll discuss it when we get along and when I talk about saying what is it that organizations look for. But clearly, soft skills are extremely vital for success. What are these soft skills, right? These are skills that look at in interpersonal skills, skills about leadership, yeah. These skills, social skills, these are all part of soft skills, right? Okay, let's look at one of them. Leadership. Can somebody figure out who this gentleman is? The clue is in the picture on the left. Huh? No? What is this? What's happening on the picture on the left? Satellite launch. Yeah. Where does India launch its satellites from? Sorry? Sriharikota. Yeah. What is the name of the center?
Satish Dhawan.
That's the gentleman. Yeah. It is Satish Dhawan there. And I have a small little story about Satish Dhawan, right? How many of us know APJ Abdul Kalam? Somebody who doesn't know. Right? Okay. So this is his story. And he says the year was 1979. And APJ Abdul Kalam was heading the PSLV projects. And Satish Dhawan was the chairman of ISRO. Right? And obviously, it's these launches, etc., always a very high stakes scenario, right? And as luck would have it, there was miscalculation, and the launch vehicle landed up in the Bay of Bengal rather than where it should have been. So Mr. Dhawan calls a press conference. Yeah? And he goes and addresses the press conference and he says, "We have failed, however, I have full faith in my team and we will bounce back and we'll be able to deliver the launch vehicle for India." Fast forward a year, there's a successful launch of SLV, and this time around again there's a press conference. However, the difference is, who's heading the press conference this time around? APJ Abdul Kalam. There's no Satish Dhawan, right? So the leadership is also about saying, owning up the failures for your team and saying, okay, we fail as a team. Yeah? But when it comes to successes, let people get the credit. Let your teams get the credit. That's the hallmark of a very big leader. And why I'm telling you this now is because you are all leaders, isn't it? You don't think that when I'm going to become the CEO of the company, I'm going to be a leader. Sorry. The moment you get a job, you are a leader. You are a leader for all the people who are below you. Yeah? They look up to you. You are their boss. Okay, so if you are a manager, everybody you are managing, for them you are the leader. That gentleman who sits in the corner of his CEO, I mean, they never ever interact with that fellow. Never. Right? So for him, he's like Prime Minister of India. I am never going to interact with Narendra Modi. Isn't it? But he's going to interact daily with you. And that is what is leadership all about. So you must always ensure that, when you get into these jobs, you have to be very, very clear that leadership is something that begins on day one. It doesn't come with the fag end of your career. You only keep rising in ranks, that's it. Yeah? Emotional intelligence. How all of us come together, okay, to be able to collaborate and work. For that to happen, emotional intelligence is extremely, extremely important. Right? This is one set of skills that is the bedrock of success. Yeah? Okay? Great. Okay, teamwork. Who's this? Sorry?
KSP.
Kesari, very good. What is the story? Can anybody tell me the story? Anybody? किसी ने देखी नहीं केसरी? I thought Akshay Kumar was a heartthrob among the young people. No? Yeah.
21-6 fought against the 10,000 Afghans.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And what's important is that they stuck together, right? It was a losing battle. I mean, everybody knew you couldn't have possibly fended off thousands of Afghans, right? But it's about having each other's back. It's about teamwork. Extremely important. Yeah? So that's the one thing that is. Okay, who's the gentleman? Huh? Yes, Mr. Edison. And what is his story? Yeah, he invented the bulb. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. So he failed 10,000 times. Yeah. And somebody asks him, aren't you fed up? You're failing again and again and again and again. And he goes back and says, no, I know 10,000 times how not to make a light bulb. Right? And there's another story, right? His lab burned down. And his son came and said, Dad, we've lost everything. The lab is gone. I think let's just wrap up and figure out what we need to do next. And he goes back and says, great, it's an opportunity for us to start afresh. Right? So it's the attitude that matters. Right? So it's your resilience saying, I'm not going to give up for the simple reason that I have failed in a particular endeavor once. It doesn't matter. Right? What, like Muhammad Ali said, right? It doesn't matter how many times, or maybe not Muhammad Ali, Rocky Balboa. How many of you have seen Rocky? Yeah? It's not about how many times you get beat down, but you need to get up and keep fighting. I think that's what is the crux of this. Okay. Conflict resolution. Did you say conflict resolution there? Okay, no. Conflict. Is conflict good or bad? What do you think? Depends. All right. Depends on what?
Depends. For example, if there is a conflict, we get more chance to know a person.
Okay.
Whether it's for good or bad, creates distance or we become close to the other person more.
Okay. Yeah.
It depends on motive.
On motive. Okay. All right. What else?
It can give more point of view if some conflicts happen.
Okay. Very good. Fantastic. Yes, you can get more points of view, right? And my boss, whenever we used to fight, right? There's always a fight between. There are always people in organizations are really gunning for different goals, right? Different objectives. The objective of the sales team is to ensure maximum sales. Quality be damned, right? Whether the customer is going to be there after 3 months or not, he is not bothered. मुझे तो माल बेचना है, बेच के figure it out, right? But the CS team or the customer service team especially for organizations where it is a subscription model, they have to really bother about saying, is my customer worthy to be a postpaid customer? Right? There are very many times when not everybody gets a postpaid connection, right? And when I'm saying worthy, what I mean is, does he have the ability to be able to pay? It is as simple as that, because there's credit involved, right? The CS and the credit teams are going to say, you know what, the profile is not good, the credit history of the customer is not nice, so I would not sell anywhere outside Jaipur city. The sales owner will come back and say, oh, let me sell in Timbuktu also, how does it matter, right? And then for conflict, so though there's a conflict of interest, and how do you resolve it? You need to get both the guys in the room and understand each other's concerns and find a way forward of saying what is it that we need to do to be able to address the concerns of both the parties, right? So conflict is good because it helps you have robust plans. If everybody was a yes man, okay, we will never ever achieve anything. Why? Because the man in charge, it is only his brain that's working, right? He says, okay, all of us, let's go this side. The sun sets in the east. Everybody says, yeah, the sun sets in the east. Right? That's not how corporate life works. We need to be pragmatic about it, and we need to come out and say, if there is a difference of opinion, we need to voice a difference of opinion. There are ways or means of voicing a difference of opinion, but extremely critical that we should and not become just yes men. Right? And young people are expected to do that, by the way. Alright. Responsibility is there, right? Somewhere? Yeah, responsibility. Right now, carefree. Yeah, mom and dad are there to take care of everything. There's a safety net, right? But once you graduate and once you get into a job, everybody's mindset changes, right? Your parents, your family, even your friends. Yeah? Then everybody starts to view it that yes, now you've arrived in life, right? Now you've landed a job. So responsibilities, obviously, you have to be on the ball. You have to always look at it and say, okay, now it is my responsibility to do it. Okay? Great. Okay, who's the gentleman? He's a US president. Yeah. He's Harry Truman. He was president of the United States. And I'll draw your attention to this small little thing over here in the desk. It says, what does it say? Yeah, it says, I am accountable. I am accountable. That makes a lot of difference, right? So whenever you guys, today, I'm not saying that you are not accountable for your actions. But very many times we tend to say, you know what, I got late for class, wo bathroom mein mera roommate tha, so I couldn't come, right? And so on and so forth. There could be whatever else, this thing, right? But really, in the corporate life, it is you who need to deliver it. So the buck has to stop at you. And the more ownership that you take, the more successful you are going to become. So clearly, these are some of the changes that are going to happen once you move from your campus life to your corporate life. And then goals, right? And we'll discuss something about goals coming in the next section as well. But goals are extremely important, right? Let's look at Google Maps. I use Google Maps to reach it today. Okay, how many of you guys use Google Maps? Yeah? What do you do if you have to go to Google Maps, what is the first thing that you do? Yeah, and what is the destination? That's the goal. That is where I want to reach, right? So if you don't have a goal, even Google Maps can't help you, right? So you need to understand that the goals have to be clear and sharp. What is it that you want to do? You define your goals clearly. And we'll come to that in the subsequent section as well. Yeah? Okay, so what is the industry actually looking for, right? So we've so far discussed how things are going to be different, how the world is going to be different between what we are doing now and what we're going to end up doing later. But really, what is it that the industry today is looking at? What are the corporate people looking at? Yeah? Sorry. Working knowledge, integrity and honesty, they are a given. When I say given, this is the basic thing that has to be there. Right? If this is not there, you don't stand a chance. It is as simple as it. Yeah. Working knowledge, I'm saying what you are acquiring here. Yeah. How do I work? What are the principles of marketing, principle of accounting, or whatever else that you're studying? Yeah, HR, or I don't know if they teach sales, but yeah, sales is more like common knowledge. But yeah, right attitude. You said right attitude, dedication, communication skills, humility. Yeah, if you're a snob guy walking around with your head held in the clouds, you're too far away from your team. You're too far away from the people. Yeah, so they want to look at a guy who is going to be having some bit of humility. Yeah? Okay. Motivation, soft skills, analytical ability to unlearn and learn. Right? There is a saying in Gujarati which says, any Gujaratis here? Great, I can get away with it. Okay. So the saying is, Manu Bathu Avade. What that means is, I know everything. I'm an MBA. Manu Bathu Avade. So I know everything. I've done an MBA. Yeah. So when you get there, you need to be clear. Yes, you know everything, but you need to be ready to unlearn and learn new stuff, and constantly keep learning. Yeah. So that's one ability for, and it's extremely important because you're going to also look at saying, what if I want to course correct? You understand course correction? Yeah? I've set a goal, I've put a plan in place, but the plan is not working. If the plan is not working, I need to tweak the plan. But if I'm not open to change, if I'm not open to learning new stuff, I will be very, very dogmatic about it and say, no, this is the only way to do it. Oh, there's never ever the only way to do it. There's always a better way to do it. Okay, so one very important aspect that people are looking for is your ability to learn and unlearn. Okay, so how many of you want to do a job? Can I have a show of hands? Okay, all these people are not raising hands. What are they wanting to do? Business, alright. Everybody else wants to do a job. Yeah? Okay? Business, alright, very nice. Very good. And how many of you guys want to have a career? How many? So what's the basic difference? What is the difference between landing a job and building a career? What's the difference? Sorry? Let's go back to slide number 1, right? What did the slide number 1 say? Participate, participate,
So
participate.
it's basically just to gain income and just to earn, but career is something for your development, for your interest. It is somewhere or the other includes everything.
Okay, alright. Okay. Let's say, how many of you guys are going to become a CEO at placements? How many? But you will eventually get there, right? The first step is landing a job. Everything else is building a career. Right? The story doesn't end at landing a job, right? As the drunken Shah Rukh Khan said, picture to bhi baki hai dost, right? So clearly, landing the job is only the first step, right? It's an entry. Everything else starts after that, right? Okay, so let's look at this. And if you want to build a career, then what? Yeah? What's the difference between dreaming? Yeah? I want to be on the moon, trying to figure out how I'm going to get on the moon, right? That's dreaming. And how do you build reality? How do you build that career? How do you get, saying that this is what I want to become? What's the difference? How do you go about it, right? I'll play a small little clip. I want you to listen to it very, very attentively. Maybe I'll play it twice if you guys want, and then let's discuss it. Okay, before we begin, who's the gentleman?
John F. Kennedy.
Very good. John F. Kennedy. Can I have this sound there, please?
These are extraordinary times, and we face an extraordinary challenge. Our strength, as well as our convictions, have imposed upon this nation the role of leader in freedom's cause. Finally, if we are to win the battle that is now going on around the world between freedom and tyranny, the dramatic achievements in space which occurred in recent weeks should have made clear to us all, as did the Sputnik in 1957, the impact of this adventure on the minds of men everywhere who are attempting to make a determination of which road they should take. Since early in my term, our efforts in space have been under review. With the advice of the Vice President, who is Chairman of the National Space Council, we have examined where we are strong and where we are not, where we may succeed and where we may not. Now it is time to take longer strides, time for a great new American enterprise, time for this nation to take a clearly leading role in space achievement, which in many ways may hold the key to our future on Earth. I believe we possess all the resources and talents necessary, but the facts of the matter are that we have never made the national decisions or marshaled the national resources required for such leadership. We have never specified long-range goals on an urgent time schedule, or managed our resources and our time so as to ensure their fulfillment. I therefore ask the Congress, above and beyond the increases I have earlier requested for space activities, to provide the funds which are needed to meet the following national goals. First, I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space, and none will be so difficult or expensive to accomplish.
Okay, you want to listen to that one more time? Are you good? Good? Okay, fantastic. So let's look at it. What are the key takeaways? Right?
Landing the man on the moon.
Sorry?
Landing a man on the moon.
Yeah, that's correct. Landing on the moon. What is that?
Success.
Okay.
Goal setting.
Correct. Goal setting. That's absolutely right. All right. What does he do first? We take stock of the situation currently. Where am I? So he says we've examined where we are strong and where we are not, where we may succeed and where we may not. Right? So he's clearly figuring out his own SWOT analysis. You've done SWOT analysis?
Yes.
Yeah? So he's figuring out these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, so on and so forth. I understand the backdrop in which he's making the speech, right? He talks about Sputnik. What is Sputnik? Russia has already, yeah, fantastic. Russia has already sent the aircraft. They've also sent Laika to space. They've also sent Yuri Gagarin to space, right? So they've not only sent the first spacecraft, they've also sent the first living being and a human being as well. And what has America got to show for it? Nothing. So that's the background in which he's sort of making that speech, right? So he's now figuring out what is my current situation? Where can I win? Alright? What are the mights that America has? Money. You can buy talent, right? And that's exactly what he says. He says, I've got all the possible resources and the talent necessary to make it happen. Right? So he's evaluating what is it that he needs to be able to deliver it. Okay? And importantly, what was missing? They always had the money, right? I mean, they could have bought talent, that's what America does, right? Half the scientists in NASA are Indians. Isn't it? Because there is more prosperity and so on and so forth, whatever else. But fact of the matter is, what was missing? They never made a national decision. They never said that there's going to be specified long-term goals in a time-bound manner, right? I will become the CEO of the company when? Oh, pata nahi kab. Sometime I will become. It's never going to happen, right? Okay. So what was missing clearly was a goal of saying what is it that we will do. And somebody like pointed out over here very, very clearly. He says before the decade is out. So he's putting a timeline, right? This is 1961. Before the decade is out means before 1969. He says very, very clearly, before the decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and bringing him back safely. So it's not a one-way ticket to eternity. Right? Very, very clear. Okay. And then there is also action. He says, I've come to Congress to ask for funds. Congress is the parliament, right? He says, I need the resources. Okay? And in one of the other speeches that I've not put here, but which was in Rice University in Dallas, he goes back and, in Houston, sorry, he goes back and says, we need to do this, not because it is easy, but because it is hard. Right? So there are times, so there are no easy shortcuts, never. Okay? Great. So let's look at that. What does it do? Clearly, we need to set smart goals. What are smart goals?
Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound.
Very good, fantastic. So those are smart goals. And always remember, a goal without a plan is just a wish. Right? And I'll give you an anecdote, right? Harvard Business School, they did a study. They figured out that 3% of their class wrote down their goals when they passed out of or graduated out of Harvard Business School, right? 3% of the class, they wrote down their goals. I'm sure all of them would have had some goals in life. But that 3% earned 10 times more than the balance 97% of the class. And obviously, as I said, basic knowledge, if you look at industry, what I just told earlier, everybody who goes into our business school would be at a certain minimum standard of intellect and IQ and EQ and the rest of it, right? But yet, that one single act of writing down their goals made a whole lot of difference between their earning capacity of 10 times vis-a-vis the balance of the class, right? Obviously, it is not a simple act of when I say go likha and then I've gone off to sleep, now I'm going to earn 10 times. Sorry, it doesn't work like that, right? But what that single act does is that it gives conviction of saying, I am going to be doing this. And if you stick it up every day in the morning and look at it, that's my goal. That's what I need to achieve. And for me to achieve that, I need to do A, B, C. Right? That's where the difference comes in. Alright? Okay. If at any point in time you guys don't understand or don't comprehend anything, stop me. You're going to ask something and stop me. Okay. Now, what are the tools to chart success? You've landed a corporate job. What is it that we need to really do to be able to succeed in these areas? Okay. So this is you. Who is this gentleman? Yeah, Daniel Craig, very good. What does he play? Who does he play? You guys don't watch James Bond? Huh? You guys watch James Bond? No. I thought everybody thinks I'm a Bond. Yeah? Who is here who doesn't think I'm a Bond? Okay. Who are these? Everybody is a Bond. Right? So when you go from college, in college everyone is a Bond. Right? I mean, everybody feels like that. I felt it when I was 20 years ago. Right? But remember that it's not only about you. Okay? When you get there, there have been bonds in the past in the industry. Whichever industry you choose, whichever business you want to do, whatever. Right? So it's not only about you. And you need to find your place among those bonds. Right? And hence the first thing that needs to be done there is to build relationships. Yeah? And when I'm saying relationships, Yeah, you can find your life partners also, but when I say relationship, it's more about work relationships, right? Extremely important because in an environment, in a corporate environment, you are not an individual contributor, right? Whatever you do has an impact on other people's performances, and whatever they do has an impact on your performance, right? For example, let's say if I'm in marketing, right, and if I want to sell, if I want to increase my revenues, I need to ensure that there are more subscribers. Does marketing go and acquire subscribers? No, sales does it, right? I need to ensure that the experience that the customer is getting is very good. So if you walk into a Vodafone mini store or a Vodafone store, the experience should be very good. Does marketing provide that experience? No. The retail team provides that experience. If you call up the call center, the lady or the gentleman there, he should talk politely to you, give you a nice experience. Is the gentleman part of marketing? He's not. He's part of CS. Similarly, churn. Similarly, finance. If the billing has to be correct, IT has to come into the picture. What if I'm not able to get network here? How is my customer experience going to be? Network, right? But at the end of the day, if revenues don't happen, the CEO is going to call me and say, okay, why are the revenues not happening? You are marketing, you are supposed to figure out. Right? So I'm not in it alone. Yeah? You have to collaborate not only within your own function, but across functions to be able to deliver the end product to the customer. Understand? And that end product could be anything. It could basically be anything. Okay. Compassion and empathy. Alright? Always be compassionate towards your colleagues. Right? I'm sure all of you guys would be fantastic with your computer skills or whatever else. And there could be people who do not know how to make a slide, or don't know how to do an Excel shortcut Excel stuff, right? What if you just go out and help them out? It's a way of showing empathy. It's a way of saying I am there with you, right? Irrespective of whether that person is in your team or is not in your team, doesn't really matter. All of us are sort of working towards a particular goal, right? That's that. Also, very important, always praise in public and scold in private. Right? Never ever make the cardinal sin of shouting at anybody in public. Never do that. Right? Always remember, people will remember how you treated them as compared to what transpired. Okay, my sales were down, and my boss came and badgered me. Okay, वो सेल डाउन था वो याद नहीं रहेगा, but he will remember saying वो 10 लोगों के सामने में उसने मेरे को ऐसा बोल दिया. That is the feeling that the guy will be left with, right? And it's only natural for you to pull up somebody to say, all right, you need to put in a little more effort to get your sales up. But there are ways and means of doing it. Never ever go back and admonish anybody in public. Volunteer to take additional responsibility. I'm sure this happens here also, right? In college also. Good work gets more work, and more work gets more work, right? But with more work and more work, you also keep rising up the ladder. Okay. So if you want to build your career, take on more responsibilities. Demonstrate that you are willing or you are capable of handling the next level. Right? You need to start to behave what you want to be. So if I am going to be the CEO of a company, I need to start to behave like that. Right? And when I'm saying behave, I'm not saying I go around telling my peer group, "Acha bhi main kal se CEO ban raha hu." So no, that's not what I'm saying. What I mean is that you need to start to reflect that, throw that confidence of saying that, okay, I am willing to take responsibility. I can do this, right? And let's say power dressing is part of it. It's part of the game, right? So yeah, to take additional responsibility, be the man or be the woman who's going to make the difference. Yeah, build trust. Very important. Okay, I'll give you a story. I was fresh out of college, just like you guys are going to be, and I went up to my CEO to have a business case signed off. And he really took me apart, right? He asked me 1,000 questions. So what is this? Why is that? Why is ARPU so low? What are you doing about this customer? What happens if the customer says this? Blah, 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 blah. And I had to really keep on working on it for a long time. And, but I learned my lesson, right? I learned from that mistake and I said, okay, then I need to think on these lines, right? And over a period of time, the same gentleman, he was walking out of his office, okay? And I went to him for a business case sign-off. And I said, boss, this is the sign-off I need. We need to launch a new campaign. I want to do that. He looked at the thing, he read the campaign and he signed it. And he's just walking out, Acha, take it there, okay, and done, right? And then I asked him, I said, but you haven't read the case. I said, I know, but you've done it, right? Where did that trust come in? Because between the first time when I got really rogered, to the second time around, or the third or the fifth time, the nth time, I had done my homework. And he had repeatedly seen me demonstrate, say that I have touched all the bases. Okay? So he said, okay, if by the nth time now he knows that I would have done a thorough job. Alright? But always remember, it takes a lifetime to build trust and only a second to break it. Alright? And once you've broken the trust, you cannot regain it. Never. So the responsibility lies on you to never break trust. And it is therefore in your personal lives, in your professional lives as well. Never break trust. Okay? So imagine if I had really goofed up on that one case. Elango would have always come back and said, no, but you show me the figure. I'm not commenting on whether it was right or wrong. It is just his trust. He's demonstrated that trust in that you've done it, I'm sure you've done it right. But now I had a greater responsibility of living up to that trust. Not only that time, but every subsequent time as well. Right? So extremely important. But once you're able to build trust, trust goes around, right? I mean, how many times do we say, I can trust that guy? And if we say, I can trust this fellow, even other people will now take your word for it. Saying that, okay, he's recommended that gentleman. Okay, he trusts him, so I will trust him. It's called word of mouth. Right? And there's no better marketing tool as compared to word of mouth. You can put billions of dollars, billions of rupees into advertising, but it is just not going to work. Right? You look at some of the campaigns, I don't know if you guys ever remember, something called Lalita Ji, right? The lady with the surf. It was a long time back. But that was the first time when a non-celebrity came up and said, okay, you know what, I use surf and it is damn good. Yeah? And if you see a lot of times you see this, moms, children, all of these people from, look at Dove for example. What does Dove do, right? It's trying to build trust. How? Normal people from normal walks of life. And so on and so forth, right? Now it's been used pretty often, but I'm generally saying that trust is something that is the bedrock of all business. If you don't trust a business, you are not going to buy their products over a long period of time. You'll buy it simply because kuch aur available nahi tha and I got it. That's the reason why. Yeah? Okay. Be a learner. Always. Right? We said unlearn and learn. So you have to continuously keep learning. And when you're saying learning, it is from everybody. Right? Everybody around you. Learn from your own mistakes. And I'll give you an anecdote here. Navy SEALs, right? Whenever they go out for a mission and they come back, the first thing that they do is, or whenever any operation happens and people come back, what do they do? Mission report. Okay, what else? Something called a debrief. Alright? And in the debrief, what do they do? What went right? What went wrong? What we could have done better. So one of my CEOs, right, he used to do this. Every time we had a big campaign or we did a big event, he would call back people and say, okay, or the leadership team and say, okay, what went right? What did we do right? And in that meeting, it's a no holds bar, right? And I can point fingers at anybody and say, you know what, that he didn't do that or he didn't do that. And anybody else can point finger at me and say, you didn't do this. But what that did was, that we figured out in the event, post the event, what we could have done better. And once we did this, a similar campaign or an event later, we took out those learning and say, okay, the last time around, you know what, we really goofed up in these 5 areas, let's really look at it, how we can improve on it. And similarly, for you need to, so a mistake is not a mistake as long as you learn from it. Okay, so please ensure that you learn from your mistakes even when you are in corporate life, because nobody is expecting you to be perfect, by the way, right? Learn from your colleagues. Okay, what do you see here? Yeah, so I'm just trying to depict your subordinates, your peers and your superiors. Right? Learning is not something that can only come from, ऐसा ज्ञान की धारा नहीं है कि ऊपर से गिरेगी. You understand? It can come from anywhere. Yeah? There are times when your subordinates will teach you something. There are obviously times when your peer groups sort of teach you, right? So always be open for learning. Okay. Punctual, right? Extremely important. Why? Because punctuality does two things. A, it gives the confidence to the other person that you are reliable. Alright? It's raining very hard and I need to go and pick up my daughter from school, but I'm late. Yeah? How many times have you seen movies, the mom or the dad is busy in office and the daughter is sitting on the steps of the school crying? We all, at times get a little emotional about it. But then, do we say that that dad or that mom is reliable or that person is reliable? No, right? And similarly for this thing, for meetings. If the meeting starts at 11, I should be here before 10 minutes before 11, isn't it? So that we start the meeting on time. So it becomes punctuality is that. Also, punctuality is respecting other people's times. Okay, and I'll give you an anecdote. The MD of our company, Martin Peters, of Vodafone some time ago, every year Vodafone does a road show. When it says road show, it means all the circles, all the telecom circles. I don't know if you guys are aware, but India is divided into 23 telecom circles, right? And each circle has a business head. Each of these teams come and sometime in December, and they come back and say, okay, this is what I want to do for next year. This is my plan, this is my number, this is what I want to achieve, this is the support I require, and so and so. And obviously everybody flies into Bombay because that's what the headquarters are. And one fine evening, every day you have meetings, and in the evening you've got cocktail and dinner and stuff like that. And because there are 23 circles, obviously not everybody can be done in one day, so it is a program that is done over a period of 3-4 days. As luck would have it, one particular evening, over cocktail and dinner, Martin figured out that one circle, which was supposed to get presented today, has got spilled over to tomorrow, and the daughter of the CFO of that particular circle was not well, and he had to be back in his hometown. But obviously he couldn't go for the simple reason that the presentation has to be made tomorrow, and if it's a budget, then without the CFO you can't present the budget, right? And Martin said, oh, this is something that's not right. And then he went back and said, okay, if there's a 45-minute slot that is provided, I will shut off the presentation after 40 minutes. So immediately the next day, the circle that came in, he said after 20 minutes, he told the guys, you've got 20 minutes to make your point. At the end of 40 minutes, he says, okay, presentation off. So the businessman said, but sir, I have not said anything. He said, your time is up, sorry. Right? So he's ensuring that circles that come after him are not sort of kept waiting. He's punctual about all the other people. So he's respecting their time as well. So you need to be very, very cognizant of that. In India, what happens is we tend to just stretch everything. Everything is stretched like a rubber band. Yeah? The meeting keeps going on and on and on and on. And then in the end, okay, batao kya karne gaye? And then we do whatever it has to be done, right? That's how normally meetings happen. But punctuality is something that we need to definitely sort of put in place. And that can happen when you plan your day. There will be 1,000 things for you to do in a day, right? But you need to prioritize. You need to say, what is it that I need to do first? What is important? How do you prioritize? activities that are going to be contributing towards the overarching goal of the organization are to be prioritized right up front. Alright? So, just plan and prioritize your work of saying what is it that you intend to do for the day. Yeah, make your boss look good. Right? It goes without saying. I'm sure everybody recognizes the two gentlemen. Yeah, who are they? Yes, Mr. Bill Gates and Mr. Warren Buffett. Now, well, I put them there, but the idea here is that you need to always step in for your boss, right? So I had a boss who was a fantastic people's man, right? He could really galvanize the entire sales force and the people and so on and so forth. But he was not very good with numbers, right? And whenever we used to have our reviews, it was my job to fill him in on the numbers or stand in for him for the numbers, right? I would tell him, okay, these are the problem areas that we can get pulled up for. These are the possible reasons. These are the possible solutions for that, right? And I should give him one small little furry, like, what is it called? Cheat notes, yeah. So that this is what is important. So you need to really make him successful. If you pull the other person down, you are never ever going to move up in the corporate ladder, right? And I'm not saying that it is not, how do I put it? It's not buttering your boss, right? It is saying, because you are in it as a team, right? So you need to ensure that you succeed as a team as well. And that's the spirit behind the entire piece of saying, make your boss look good. Okay. Listen attentively. The first and foremost rule of communication is to listen what the other person is saying. You will always get a chance to speak, right? But always listen. Because otherwise you are going to miss the point completely. And there's a difference between hearing and listening, right? When I tell my son homework kar lo, he's hearing. Okay, he hears from here and he's really not bothered, right? That's hearing. But when it's listening, you're paying attention and absorbing what the other person is saying. What is the gist of it? Understand? So that's the basic difference between hearing and listening. So actively listening. And if you listen actively, all right, then you will come to a situation where you are able to. Oh, okay. All right. We'll come back to that one, but where you'll be able to speak up. You'll only be able to speak up if you know what's going on, right? What are the nuances? What is it that somebody is talking about? So extremely important that you, and when I say speak up, we always go back and say, is the person contributing or not contributing? How do you figure out if the guy is contributing? If the guy speak up, right? Right?
Yes, sir.
So contribute. Okay? It's a two-way. See, all communication is a two-way street. Otherwise, it's going to be a monologue. Okay? One guy speaking, ज्ञान की धारा बह रही है, सब लोग अपने हाथ धो रहे हैं. That's not how it is, right? It's a two-way street, isn't it? Okay. So clearly, speak up is for you guys as young people to bring in new thinking, right? New concepts. At times, people in the organization feel, we've done there, we've done that, been there, we've tried kiya tha, 10 saal pehle chala nahi, and so on and so forth, right? But you can always come in with a new, fresh perspective to say, okay, we can do this with this nuance, right? Why did it not work 10 years ago? Maybe the time was not right for it, isn't it? Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, I'll come back to this one before we get to this one. Yeah. Second, embrace change. Change is also a chance for you to grow. Yeah? And change, frankly, is a very old cliche, but really change is the only constant. Okay? Every time, every moment, things are changing. The earth itself is not where it was a second ago. Right? and it will never ever be back where it was, frankly, right? Because it's spiraling through space. And similarly, even in an organization, there are constant changes that are happening. You need to understand why those changes are happening and adapt and adopt to those changes, right? If you become too rigid, okay, it's like a blade of grass. Okay, you have to be flexible. When the wind blows, the blade of grass sways along with it, right? But when the storm has passed, the blade of grass is still there. But if you are like a tree that is rigid, chances are that you will get uprooted. So always be very, very adaptive to change, right? Never be rigid, because there have to be there ought to be reasons for a change, right? Why is change happening? All right. Extremely important. Have passion in whatever you do, right? So there is this gentleman called Henryk Janowski. He is a National Geographic photographer, right? And his challenge was that whenever he used to go near the swans to film them, they used to all fly away, right? And he couldn't figure out what needed to be done. And so he built this contraption where he's got his artificial swan on the top, and he's got his little camera sort of jutting out over there. And you see it is ice cold water, right? There's a little ice in the water. And he is neck deep in that water to film and get that shot of a swan nearby. That's the sort of passion that he's bringing to his job, right? And really, you need to bring all your passion to the jobs that you guys want to do, or that's the way to building your careers. If you got passion of whatever that is, whatever it is that you want to do. If you want to do business, it has to be done with passion, right? I mean, you can't simply say, "Ah, ठीक है, अभी अपना business is 11:30 बजे जाऊँगा." No, it doesn't work like that. Yeah. So, extremely important that you need to have passion. That's the one most important thing for success. And then have some more. You can never ever have less passion, right? And look at this guy. This guy is Kavika Simpson in Hawaii. You know, there's been a volcanic eruption, and he's wanting to catch that. His feet is on fire, but he's just wanting to take that one shot. Yeah? That's the epitome of passion. And with passion will come the ability to be self-driven. Right? There are very many times, there are very many different types of managers. Right? But what a manager always wants is a person who is wanting to contribute. Right? You need to really decide your own goals and say, this is what I want to do. And those goals obviously have to be aligned to the overall goals of the company. But they have to be self-driven. Because you cannot have, see, at the end of the day, the corporate team is not running a kindergarten. Okay? They're really not bothered कौन कितने जा रहा है, कौन कितने जा रहा है, हमें किताबें निकालो. Sorry, it doesn't work like that. You are expected to be self-driven. You are expected to be done, to be, bring a certain level of drive. Okay, to say that, okay, I want to do this. I want to get my goals right. And for this, if I have to go and meet 10 people, I'm going to do that. Nobody's going to come and wake you up in the morning and say, "Aaj 10 logon se karna hai. Today you have to do prospecting for 10 customers." Nobody's going to come and do that. Yeah? Okay. We already spoke about this. Yeah. Be creative and offer solutions. Right? Extremely important are the first two slides that we said, right? You listen to what is happening. And then when you say you have to be creative and offer solutions, you also need to collaborate with other people. One of my bosses, what he used to do is that he used to talk to all the stakeholders, right? And get their points of view before the meeting. So if there's a board meeting happening, he will call up, the business head, the sales head, whoever else. So in an organization, there could be sales head at the circle, and then there'll be a distribution head in the corporate office. So he'll talk to 5-10 people, try and get their perspective, and then he will form an opinion on his own. Now we'll know, for this problem, these are the pain areas of the CS guy, this is the pain areas of the sales guy. So now he will understand what the issue is, okay? And then he'll come up with a solution or he'll come up with a point of view of his own by taking all of these inputs, right? So it is not always necessary that you have the answer in the first shot. No, it's not necessary. You need to collaborate, understand, gather data, process it. But you need to do this before the conversation, before the meeting that happens, right? So very, very clearly, if you're coming prepared for the conversation, then you'll be able to give meaningful inputs. And believe me, even the man in the corner office doesn't have all the answers. Okay, if you think the man in the corner office has a magic wand that he's going to sway and solve all the problems, no, he's not. He doesn't have it. He's also groping in the dark. He's also looking at problems, or looking for solutions to problems. Yes, he's privy to far greater information than you are, right? But that's okay, because at the end of the day, everybody appreciates saying, okay, here is a person who's wanting to contribute towards the success of the organization. And then there are two things that can happen. When you bring a point of view, either your point of view is accepted, or you learn from that point of view as to what is the other thing that you missed out. And I'll go back to the analogy that I gave with me and Elango when we were talking about building trust, right? By badgering me in those first n number of business cases, he told me what is it that I was missing. So by the time I came to that nth business case, I had covered all the bases. So similarly, when you speak up, when you contribute, when you are providing solutions, you're also learning in the process, right? And we discussed saying learning is something that's a continuous journey, okay? It's like an endless infinity loop. It doesn't finish, right? Okay. Yeah. Tactful self-promotion. Yeah, you need to blow your own trumpet at times. Yeah. So it's a nice idea to, at times, maybe just write a small little memo at the end of the month to your boss saying that, you know what, I have done these 5 things and how those 5 things have contributed to the organization. And those could be small things, right? Don't think, for example, there was this guy who was chiseling away at some stone, right? And a guy passed by and asked him, what are you doing? And he goes back and says, I'm building the Taj Mahal. Yeah? He could have answered and said, "Main patthar tod raha hu." No, he didn't say that, right? What is he doing? He's actually helping build the Taj Mahal. Similarly, you need to go back and put your own small contribution. What is it? How is that contribution helping build a organization, right? So you need to ensure that you, at times, blow your own trumpet, but yeah, don't go overboard. Huh? And then don't say, "Acha, mere ko promotion kar diya aur after every 2-3 weeks or whatever," right? Okay. Do regular self-evaluation. We talked about saying we figured our goals, we've taken certain action, but along the way we need to maybe tweak some of those actions, right? So extremely important that we are able to do a self-evaluation, figure out where am I, what am I supposed to do, what was I supposed to do so far. So let's say between your point A and point B, there are 10 milestones in the middle. At every milestone, you need to figure out, have I reached the milestone? Am I on the right track? Do I need to change something? Right? So always do a self-evaluation. This is important even now, right? If some of you are sort of appearing for your campus placements, right? You need to understand, okay, which are the companies that I'm going to be targeting, or which sectors am I going to be targeting? So if I'm going to target sector A, what do I know about it? What are the problems that are plaguing that particular sector? What is it? What are the possible solutions? There is so much of digitalization happening. We've sort of, it has upset the apple cart for a lot of companies. There's a paradigm shift in the way people do business, right? So, do a regular self-evaluation. Yeah, there are politics everywhere. It's best to avoid office politics, right? Especially at your stage of the career. As you grow in, and office politics is not necessarily bad, all right? It's only our politicians who make politics bad, all right? Politics simply means the art of navigating the unknown. Who you need to collaborate with. If I'm going in for an important business meeting, right? And I know that I need a sponsor for that meeting. If I go and meet the CFO of the company beforehand, and I tell him, look, Thomas, this is what is the issue, and I need so many sites in my circle, and if you give me 1,000 sites, I will be able to return the money in 4 months' time. And or I'll say, okay, I'll return the money in 40 months' time, but you know what? I will be able to do X, Y, Z for the company. Now, at least in that meeting, I have already bought Thomas on my side. Yeah, somebody will say it's political maneuvering. The other person, somebody else might say it's good networking, right? So politics is not necessarily bad. But what happens is when you are new in the organization, you need to first understand what are the undercurrents, how things are moving in that organization. Otherwise, you end up being played. All right. So that's what I'm saying. You must avoid office politics in the earlier stages of your career. Extremely important. Unplug and recharge. All right. Why is it important? It is important for you to be able to give your mind also rest and say, okay, I will be afresh when I come back and to contribute with even more vigor. You be at it 24/7, all right, your productivity is only going to decline. All right. Gone are the days when you slog for 14 hours and you were the best man on earth. Sorry, it doesn't work anymore like that. You need to work smart. Right? There are tools available. Why not? So use it. When I'm saying unplug and recharge, if you are off on a holiday, you are off on a holiday. Right? And that those equations should be set with your bosses accordingly. And when I'm saying that, please be cognizant of the fact that there will be different types of bosses. Right? So there would be, and you will figure this out when you sort of join. There would be bosses who would appreciate saying that, boss, I'm going to trek in the Himalayas, so please don't disturb me. And then some other guy will say, even if you are in Timbuktu, Patal Lok mein bhi ho, to call dalena. So there are different types of people. You need to manage the thing. But the larger point is that, break off. Alright? And even now, okay, break off, unplug. I think the biggest social evil is social media. Alright? So limit its use. And I'm saying unplug because you're constantly, at it. If you see the biggest problem is there is no end point. Okay, you keep scrolling it, something new is going to keep popping up. So you never know, your brain doesn't get the clue to say, okay, now you're done. Now they started to bring in and say you're all caught up. Now often you get this thing saying you're all caught up. Yeah? So just do that. Ensure that you unplug and recharge. Extremely important. Okay. And stay humble. Grounded. Nobody likes a man or a woman who is boastful. I, me, myself, it doesn't work. Yeah? Nobody likes. Even if you are Mukesh Ambani, okay, you might have oodles of money, but if it's all about I, me, myself, his subordinates are not going to like him. Right? And obviously, it will take time for you to reach and become Mukesh Ambani. So by the time you move from here to there, be humble. Humble doesn't mean being meek. Humble doesn't mean not being aggressive. Okay, let me make that fine distinction. If numbers have to be delivered, they have to be delivered. Right? But by humbleness, what I mean is that you give everybody his due. You should not become too egoistic in your own successes, that you start flying. Right? So that's what it means, staying humble, right? Okay, so I think this is what I have, and most importantly, to just sum up the entire piece, what are these two things? Yeah? They are the same thing essentially. They are both carbon, right? The one on the left is available in plentiful supply and really nobody wants to touch it, right? Because it's all black and sooty and everything. The one on the right, yeah, the women want it and the men want to give it to the women. Yeah? But it is something that is extremely rare and precious. But essentially they are both carbon. What's the difference? The journey from the left to the right is gone through a lot of pressure, a lot of, if I may say, hard work by nature, right? So if you guys are all on the left, you need to move on the right. And if you're already on the right, then you need to ensure how you can shine even better. Understand? Yeah? So that is all I have for the day. I think we had an hour and we've done that. And we're now open for questions if you guys have any.